Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 14th September 2021. The report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the Public-Private Partnership Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2021.
The next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, statements.
Senator George Khaniri.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity and state that I rise pursuant to the provisions of our standing orders, and in particular standing order number 47, paragraph 1, to make a statement on a matter of national concern. And this is the frequent accidents at Kaburengu Junction in Bungoma, in Kakamega County. First and foremost, on my own behalf and that of my family and the people of Vihiga, I wish to register our condolences to the families, relatives, and friends of the 6 accident victims that occurred on Saturday, the 21st of August, 2021. Mr. Speaker, this is an accident that claimed the lives of 5 family members, Mr. Richard Osimbo, his wife, their children, his sister-in-law, their relative Nyambaka, their relative Vincent, and their driver. Mr. Speaker, losing a family member is very painful. But losing 5 family members at the same time is excruciating, to say the least. I was able to attend the burial of the 4 of the victims in Ebwali village, Luanda sub-county in Vihiga County on Saturday, the 4th September 2021. And Mr. Speaker, the sense of loss and pain was palpable. I condoled with the family and offered my contributions. It is unfortunate that a joyous activity of dowry process turned fatal. This family were traveling from Vihiga for some dowry negotiations, I believe, and they perished. They never got there. Mr. Speaker, this matter of Kaburengu Junction stretch of the Eldoret Tarubo Kaburengu Webuye Highway and accidents is a matter of great concern. Since 2017, there have been 4 major accidents on this stretch of the road. Of greater concern to me is that of the 4 accidents, 2 have claimed lives of residents of Vihiga. And in both cases, it was just family members. Apart from this one that happened on the 21st August 2021, another accident, Mr. Speaker, occurred at the same spot in December 2017 and claimed 14 lives of my people. 14 at the same time. Furthermore, on the 24th of December 2020, a truck with faulty brakes hit a matatu, which in turn rammed into a roadside traders at the same spot, killing 8 people. On the other hand, a power transformer on this spot of the road has been hit 7 times since 2018. A search of the word Kaburengu, Mr. Speaker, on the internet automatically connects with accident. Just try and search Kaburengu now on the internet, and you'll just see accidents. Mr. Speaker, honestly, from the above recent happenings, there is need for urgent action to protect lives. This stretch of the road is not just a black spot, but a death trap to the road users. Certain issues demand proper interrogation. For instance, the road design, road signage, speed bumps, road reserve, bus stops, and existence of Kenya Power transformer very close to the road. Mr. Speaker, during the burial of the family members, I made a promise to the community that I would raise this matter here, and that the Senate, being the house that cares about the lives of the people in this country, we will investigate and see what the government can do to rectify the spot so that we can save lives. There are matters that can be easily corrected by the government through the Kenya National Highway Authority, KENHA, Kenya Power, and the county government. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I believe a committee of this House should conduct a proper interrogation of this stretch of the road and recommend corrective measures. As much as we are celebrating big infrastructure programs in the country, there is need to look into the safety of pedestrians and all types of vehicles. There is general concern in the country that the current roads have ignored making provisions for pedestrians, persons with disabilities, cyclists, motorbikes, bus stops, and foot bridges. Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you.
Senator Wetangula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I enjoin the distinguished senator for Vihiga. Bungoma. This particular stretch, Mr. Speaker, has claimed many lives, as the statement provider has said. The area, Mr. Speaker, starts from a downhill stretch at a market called Chimoi and winds dangerously down towards the valley of River Nzoia for about 5 kilometers. And what happens, Mr. Speaker, is that most truck drivers, I don't know who tells them that when they engage free gear, they save fuel. When they are on that downhill stretch, they disengage their gear and run into what is commonly called free gear. There is even signage there warning motorists against driving in free gear. But they will engage that free gear, which automatically dismembers the hydraulic system of the truck. And when they encounter an emergency, the brakes just don't work. Mr. Speaker, you remember last year, a truck hit a matatu, lost control, and plowed through helpless women traders by the roadside, killing over a dozen of them. The last one that Senator Haneri is talking about, of the family from Ebwali in Bunyore, killed a whole family. And many others have happened, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we don't want every time there's an accident to say high-ranking national and county government officials rushing to the scene to shed crocodile tears about how dangerous the place is and how we have lost people we will not replace. There must be action. The traders, you know, it's a very busy trading center, Mr. Speaker, and you know, because you come from the area. Why can't the government of Kakamega County build a market and get traders away from the road? That will put them out of danger. Because the women and the young people who sell tomatoes, they sell potatoes, they sell maize, they sell onions, they keep on running after vehicles. Some just get knocked out, down, and those single fatalities never count. We're counting the ones that are massive. But every other week, a trader is knocked down by either a speeding matatu or a truck at Kabrengu. We want to urge, Mr. Speaker, that this statement doesn't just pass through this House. I request that you recommend it to the committee in charge of roads so that they can see how to contain this black spot. Proper signage, speed control bumps, and any other measures that can be taken, including cyclist lanes, pedestrian lanes, so that we can be able to protect our people. More importantly, the county government of Kakamega, and I hope Governor Paranya is watching these proceedings, must go to Kaburengu and build a public market and get our people out of the roadside trading so that we can take them out of harm's way and danger. I also send my condolences to the family that lost their entire loved ones and all others that have died at this black spot, and urge the government that we have lost too many lives. We must bring this to an end so that the road users can be able to be controlled from their reckless behavior. Thank you.
Senator Christopher Langat.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I also stand with my friend and senator from Vihiga and condole these particular families who lost their members, the 6 of them. It is so sad, Mr. Speaker, that the people who are very healthy and going for a celebration, I hear it was a wedding, perished in a road accident at Kaburengu. It was so sad, and I want to express my saddest condolence to those particular families. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that the greatest challenge we have in our country is behaving, as I've always been saying, proactively. Once an accident or unfortunate thing has happened, that is when you can see our government taking action. Last week we were talking about the incident that is happening in Laikipia, and a day after we saw several lorries of General Service Unit headed there, and yesterday at least we could see some action having been taken place, especially when the committee, the security committee from this house went to that particular place. I want to congratulate that committee because when they went there, they saw the reality on the ground. So I want to say, Mr. Speaker, whenever we go everywhere, most of the accidents that are occurring are preventable. In fact, you can see possible accident spots wherever you drive in the highways in this country. Most of the pumps that are raised by the wananchis wherever accidents occurs are not marked. The road, the public works do not do anything to those particular places. The black spots, more often than not, are not marked with signs to show those particular dangers. I want to say, even in Bomet, we have experienced so many accidents as a result of roads that are not marked. You see, sometimes pumps are raised and there are nothing to indicate that there are pumps ahead, hence vehicles and motorcycles knocking them, hence contributing to a lot of accidents. So I want to say the government should bring this one to rest, and more so, I tend to think that like other countries, especially developed countries, the government always we should come up with a legislation that whenever such things happen, the government should take responsibility of ensuring those families and even giving them a lot of money to stand their family challenges. I want to say in some countries, whenever an accident occurs, and it is the responsibility of the government, therefore the burden goes to the government so that they feel it and make sure that the roads are in good condition. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say it was so sad, and I want to stand with our senator from Vihiga and condole those families, and if possible, Senator, you can organize us so that we raise something in support of those particular bereaved families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Musurve, brief.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First of all, to thank Senator Haniri for bringing up this statement. And I condole with the families that lost their bereaved ones in the Kaburengu accident. And Honorable Speaker, this is not the first time the issue of Kaburengu is coming on the floor of this House. Many times we have raised this issue of Kaburengu, that there is need for synergies, to be erected on the roads, Honorable Speaker, because when you're traveling that route, it is very difficult to see a bump clearly. The bumps are not so clear, the rumble strips are not so clear, and the Kaburengu junction is very central, Honorable Speaker. It is the junction that connects people going to Webuye from Lugari, Eldoret, people going also to Kakamega, Kisumu, people going also to Bungoma. So there is need for the contracting, in fact the contracting authorities, those who have been assigned the duty of contracting and they've been paid, there's need for them to really come up with rumble strips that are clearly marked, bumps that are clearly marked. And Honorable Speaker, just something that is very, very serious. There are also children crossing the roads along that junction and all the way to from Lugari to Eldoret, but there are not also people guiding children crossing the roads. So when they're going to school, so there's a danger of also school children also being also knocked by vehicles, Honorable Speaker, and also even business people, Honorable Speaker, who actually sell there. They're at risk of having accidents that are not intentional, Honorable Speaker. So there's need for the government to ensure that justice is done and that rumble strips are erected there. And if there's any contractor that had received money in contracting that road, the contractor should be brought to task so that he actually ensures that synergies are there and clearly marked, Honorable Speaker. And even pedestrian walks, Honorable Speaker, need to be there. And also even for people with disabilities crossing the roads, Honorable Speaker, it is a sort of state that anyone crossing there who has a disability is likely to lose his life or is likely to be knocked, Honorable Speaker. This is something that must be corrected before it happens, Honorable Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity. I support the statement.
Finally, Senator Chila Yako.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Senator Haniri for raising this matter that is tragic, is sad, and has wasted lives in a family. I want to condole with that family and say I am in solidarity with them and my prayers are for them. Mr. Speaker, accidents that kill people are so many, and particularly in the road that Senator George Haniri has raised. We have a similar situation in Migori along the road that is under construction by AFD. It is Kisumu-Isbania Road. Mr. Speaker, there are certain sections of this road from Rongo constituency all the way to Isbania where there are no signs along the road. There are no bumps along the road. What appear to be bumps are things that are put up there, and they are made of marram and quite high and uneven. And Mr. Speaker, there are no sidewalks for people who are walking along the road. There are no other provisions for people with disability. Accidents last month were prevalent next to Ranen Market, Komolo Rume Market, and Awendo Market, and many families lost their loved ones. Mr. Speaker, as you refer this matter to the relevant committee, I would request that that committee considers nationwide, finding a lasting solution from government as to what is being done about signs, about bumps, and about policing along those roads. In Migori County, we harvest and transport cane. Our tractors that haul cane do not have indicators. They do not have anything to indicate that they are tractors. So, Mr. Speaker, when you drive at night along those roads, you may overtake and just ram into a tractor and get killed. So, Mr. Speaker, it is important that the prevalent causes of accident is investigated and a solution provided to it in Bungoma and also in other parts of the nation where such accidents are prevalent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, Senator Omanga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to direct the Committee on Road Transport to take up that matter so serious. You can take your seat, kidogo.
Thank you, Mr.
No, I'm saying take your seat. Take your seat. I'm still communicating. I was saying the Committee on Transport should take up that matter because I happen to come from that area, and what has been raised is so serious that it needs to be investigated and remedial measures put in place to save the lives of people. So please, the committee, take up the matter. Senator Omanga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a very active member of this House, I've got so many statements, but 2 have appeared on the order paper today. My first statement, Mr. Speaker, I rise on pursuant to Standing Order number 48-1 to seek for statement from Standing Committee of National Security and Foreign Relations. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state progress made by authorities on the investigations of recent children kidnappings across the country. Then 2, outline plans put in place on protection and prevention against children violence across the country. State whether physical, moral, and counseling support has been given to the families and to the children who have been affected. Thank you. That's my first statement. Should I go on with my second statement, Mr. Speaker? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My second statement is on the alleged illegal eviction of residents living in Nairobi City County Staff Housing Units in Isili and in Pumwani. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations regarding to the illegal eviction of residents from Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Staff Quarters at Isili Section 3 and the Pumwani Maternity Staff Quarters at the Meru Road in Nairobi City County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, explain the circumstances surrounding the eviction, subdivision, and allocation of the parcels of land belonging to Nairobi City County government by a private developer. Hope, Mr. Speaker, the chair devolution is listening. Number 2, the committee should provide the current survey plans, deed plans, and title deeds of the said parcels of land. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the committee should state the plans that have been put in place by the Nairobi City County Government and the Nairobi Metropolitan Services to ensure protection of county institutions and properties from illegal acquisition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chararge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank one of the most active members of this House, Senator Omanga, for that hard work of the 2 statements. Maybe 2 quick observations. One, Mr. Speaker, on the statement on the issue of evictions. I think, Mr. Speaker, there is a steady rise of infrastructural evictees. In the past, we used to discuss about the forest evictees and IDPs, but it is unfortunate that infrastructural evictees continue to rise, especially in Nairobi City County, among other towns. Mr. Speaker, the biggest problem that we are facing as a country is that there seems to be a miscommunication between the agencies and the county governments. The notorious agencies of Kenya Urban Roads Authority, KURA, Kenya National Highway Authority, KENA, have been the people who are mostly do the evictions within the cities and because of expansion of roads and road reserve, Mr. Speaker. I think as a Committee of Roads and Transport, they should go beyond and understand what is the multi-agency between the coordination of KURA, KENA, and even National Construction Authority, NCA, Mr. Speaker. You saw yesterday in Kisumu, a building collapsed. And yet the NCA have been given authority to be the people who provide the standardization, ensure that the compliance is done. But the county government of Nairobi, Mr. Speaker, the Kura and Kenya, there seems to be not proper coordination when it comes to evictions that we are seeing in the city. Mr. Speaker, the third point that I wanted to make is I thought there was a communication within government. Although there could be dysfunction with this government, let's assume that there's functional government that has been there, Mr. Speaker, has indicated that there should be no evictions within the COVID period, Mr. Speaker. You can imagine evicting these people at this point in time. Most of Kenyans, according to KNBS last year, we indicated that 1.7 million Kenyans have lost their jobs. You can imagine that these Kenyans that are supposed to be evicted, Mr. Speaker, where will they get a job? Where will they get rent, Mr. Speaker? So I think going into the future, the Roads and Transport Committee must tell us the evictions that were done in Ruai, others that were done in Kawankwara and many other places, even in Meru and many other parts of the country, Mr. Speaker, the Roads and Transport Committee must tell us what was the communication of Ministry of Health, Interior Ministry, Mr. Speaker, and also the national government regards the evictions, especially, Mr. Speaker, during this COVID pandemic. And finally, on the first statement, Mr. Speaker, just one comment, is that the issue of kidnapping of children had become rampant of late, Mr. Speaker, and it is a worry to many parents, especially in Nairobi. We have seen cases where children are being kidnapped for various reasons, but the DCI has not been able to crack. But I hope, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I saw when the issue of Laikipia came up, the Minister of Interior, the IG and DCIO just sent some secretaries within their meetings to appear before the national security. But when it comes to the National Assembly, the CS and his entire team, including the ones that are put on their uniform, normally appear before the Committee of the National Security in National Assembly. So I hope when this matter of kidnappings, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Interior, the DCI and IG and all relevant, even the head of issues of children's services within government, Mr. Speaker, and the ministry in line must appear in person before the National Security Committee of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, so that we are not treated to the drama where and I think, Mr. Speaker, I want to request you that you need to re-emphasize the need as to why the head of those departments might appear before the committee, because, Mr. Speaker, we cannot operate that way. When it comes to National Assembly, they appear without qualms, but when it comes to Senate, they send their secretaries and their private assistants to appear before our committees. I think you need to re-emphasize that when you indicate that somebody should appear as per the Constitution of Kenya has been provided, they must appear as a cabinet secretary. The Constitution is very clear. It does not say the Chief Administrative Secretary, CAS, should appear because the Constitution does not comply with that. So I was disappointed, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, that when the National Security Committee of the Senate invited the CS, they decided to send some busybodies within those ministries, Mr. Speaker. I think this one should stop. They should appear when required before this committee so that we can function. But if they think they should not appear, then it becomes contemptuous before the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Mohamud.
Mr. Speaker, let me also add my voice to the statement requested by Senator Omanga, the issue of kidnapping of children. I think this is a serious matter. It has been going on for a while. In fact, it was very rampant a month ago. But more recently, Notimi children, a very prominent scholar, Abdul Samit, was kidnapped by unknown people in Isli in a vehicle which had the wrong fake number plate. Up to now, nobody knows whereabouts. From the 8th of September, Mr. Speaker, I think this country, we need our security forces to up their game so that, when things like this happen, unless they are the ones who are behind it, they should actually come out and deal with this matter very urgently, because it's very worrying that in daylight, in broad daylight, you are kidnapped by people who are driving, very luxuriously, and you are taken away and nobody knows about you since 8th September. Today is the 13th of September, and now 5 days ago, this matter of kidnapping, it was children before, now they have gone for prominent people, prominent scholar, a scholar in Horn of Africa matters. So he's missing and it's very worrying. I think this matter must be dealt with. Our security forces must up their game. I thank Madam Umanga for bringing them statement. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's okay. Senator Irungu Kangata. Not that deferred. Senator Beatrice Kwamboka.
Mr. Speaker, I'm there.
Where?
Mr. Speaker.
Oh, okay.
Online.
Where?
Online.
Okay. Okay, Senator Kangata.
I'm ready to. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We can't see you.
Mr. Speaker, you can see me. I'm online. And my video is on. Mr. Speaker, I'm online.
We are not seeing you.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm reading the statement or the settings. But I'm ready to read it, Mr. Speaker.
We want to see you. Put on your camera.
A minute, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can now see you. But you are in where are you?
I'm in my office, Mr. Speaker.
No. That's not an office, Senator Kangata. I'm sorry, we can't allow that. Sorry, we can't allow that. You have to be. The rules are very clear on where you should be. So you are out of order. You are out of order, Senator.
Mr. Speaker, I apologize. Maybe you can defer it for 5 minutes. I enter the.
Yeah, when you are in an appropriate place, I will give you an opportunity. Senator, okay, Senator Beatrice Kwamboka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I raise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the enforcement of the nationwide curfew in containment of the COVID-19 pandemic. In the statement, the committee should, number one, explain why there is discriminatory enforcement of the curfew hours in the country, in general, and within Nairobi City County. In particular, where restaurants in Nairobi West area are forced to close by 7 p.m., while the other facilities operate until 9 p.m. in Eastlands. Number two, state the challenges faced by security in enforcement of curfew hours nationwide. And number three, apprise the Senate on the actions being taken by the Ministry of Interior and coordination of national government to ensure that officers enforce the curfew and related guidelines effectively and uniformly across the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, don't see. Okay, Senator Milgo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me support the statement of Senator Kwamboka in terms of security issues when it comes to curfew time. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 is indeed a challenge to our country, and curfew hours has assisted in actually capping spread of COVID-19. However, in most cases, we have had a lot of challenges, more specifically when it comes to implementing the rules of curfew time by our security forces. We've had people being beaten up. Some of them are being bundled into cars or various areas in the most ungood ways. And in this case, this ends up not actually achieving what was intended for. We have had curfews again affecting even marketing hours. It has affected sourcing for food. And we have had complaints for various quarters because of the fact that the implementation of curfew hours have not been streamlined. And we are calling upon our national government to look at how curfew is met. Recently, for example, Mr. Speaker, the western area of our country was under curfew. And Bomet County, which was far away from that area was made under curfew, despite the fact that we had a low number of COVID-19 cases. That one brought a lot of challenges in terms of working hours, in terms of even sourcing for food, and in terms of even schooling hours for our children. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a very important statement, and I think it is not only affecting Nairobi County, it is affecting all other areas where curfew has been set, and we are asking that this should be looked into further. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank Senator Kwamboka for bringing such a step.
Senator Stewart Mazayo.
Asante, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, kwanza nataka kumpatia ongole dada yetu Kwamboka kwa kuleta hii taarifa. Bwana Spika, kulinganishana na vile wananchi wanaona na sisi wenyewe tunaona, ni kwamba Mheshimiwa Rais aliweza kuweka mkazo ili watu ikifika wakati wa saa 3 wawe wameenda nyumbani. Lakini Bwana Spika, tunaona kwamba kuna nasema kuna shida ya kuimplement hii, kwa sababu kuna upande mwingine wafanyi biashara wa aina mbalimbali wanafunga maduka yao kama saa 2 ili saa 3 waweze kwenda nyumbani, alafu saa 4 waweze kufika majumbani kwao. Lakini tunaona ya kwamba wafanyi biashara hasa wanapata tabu katika upande wa ubaguzi. Kama ni ukweli, ukiangalia mahali kama upande wa Nairobi, Nairobi West, huku upande wa magharibi, utaona ya kwamba watu wanalazimishwa kufunga biashara zao, na kwingine watu wanaruhusiwa kuendelea. Na hii yote inaletwa kwa sababu ya uzembeaji wa kutengeza hii sheria ya kwamba ikifika saa 3 ili kila mtu anaanza kufunga biashara yake. Nikisema hivi ni kwamba pia uzembeaji huu hauko Nairobi peke yake, huko katika hata sehemu zile za pwani. Kwa upande wa Kilifi tunaona kwamba kuna maeneo mengine yanaruhusiwa mabaa kuoperate mpaka saa 3 saa ngapi, wazi kabisa mbele ya polisi wakiwa wanaona, na hali kuna biashara zingine zinasimamishwa mapema sana. Maduka ambayo watu wanaweza kujifaa kununua vitu yanafungwa na mapema ili watu waende nyumbani kutekeleza wajibu ule wa kuzuia watu wasitoke usiku. Lakini hii pia imefahamika wazi kabisa kwamba kuna watu wengine wanaruhusiwa kuendelea kufanya biashara kabla hiyo. Kwa hiyo tunasema hii sheria ya COVID ambao watu wameambiwa wazuiliwe ikifika saa 3 wawe wameenda, iwe inafanywa kisawasawa, ili biashara zote ikiwa itafunga saa 3 wafunge saa 3, sio wengine wanafunga saa 1 na wengine wanafunga saa 3. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Imana Malaki.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also wanted to support this statement by Honorable Kwamboka. COVID-19 is here with us, and it's out there throughout the world. And it's really affecting our country by the fact that business is closed, as Honorable Matsai just said. And so many people are forced to go home. In the process, it's actually affecting the economy of our country. Now, this is a disease, in my view, that I really do not think we are going to eliminate it. So when you're faced with a problem like this, I think we need to think about how we can work with COVID-19, just accept it as a normal way of life now, is the new normal, and see how we can deal with it while living our usual lives, running our businesses as usual, but taking care to stay healthy. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, I've traveled a number of times on our main roads, maybe coming from Lodwar to come to Nairobi or going from here to go to Lodwar, and the traffic on the roads is just as usual. So question becomes, if people are being controlled to control the spread of COVID-19, who are those people on the roads at wee hours of the night or even at about 11, 12? Who are the people on the road? And those same people are the ones that are probably getting through by giving some little money to those who are supposed to stop people traveling. And so they travel and spread the disease. So then it doesn't make sense to say, oh, you close your bars at this time and go home, because there are still others who are traveling and spreading disease in the process. So that somehow brings a dilemma. Should we close all the roads at a certain time and only leave it for ambulances and essential services? Or should we just go with what I say? Let's live our normal lives while taking care that we don't get sick. Let's get things go so that we manage this disease by living our lives normally, by taking care that we not get sick. So, Honorable Speaker, I support this statement and hope that something progressive will come out of it. Thank you very much.
Senator Mwenyehaji.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuunga mkono taarifa ambayo imeletwa bungeni na Seneta Kwamboka. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza hivi majuzi mahakama ilitangaza kwamba zile kanuni za curfew ni haramu na hazifai kutekelezwa, na nafikiri amri hiyo ilitolewa na koti, High Court hapa Nairobi, na nafikiri kuendelea kutumika kwa kanuni hizo za curfew, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kinyume na sheria na ni kinyume na amri ya mahakama. Jambo la pili, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kuwa hizi kanuni za curfew ambazo zinatangazwa mara kwa mara ni lazima ziletwe bungeni ili ziweze kuangaliwa, kuchunguzwa na kuweza kupasishwa kama inavyosema ile Statutory Instruments Act ya 2013. Mheshimiwa Spika, nafikiri kutoka mwaka jana tulipomaliza na kamati ya COVID maalum, mpaka sasa sijaona regulations zozote ambazo zimeletwa hapa bungeni kuhusiana na mambo ya curfew ama kuhusiana na jambo lolote linahusiana na mwelekeo wa mambo ya COVID katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama mwenyekiti wa kamati ya Delegated Legislation, hatujaletewa kanuni zozote. Kwa hivyo hizi kanuni ambazo zinatumika kwa sasa, Mheshimiwa Spika, ziko kinyume na sheria na haifai bunge kunyamazia jambo kama hilo. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Wetangula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also support this statement in calling upon the agencies of state to have an even approach in handling the issues of COVID restrictions. Mr. Speaker, last week I had the Inspector General directing the removal of roadblocks that had become toll stations every time COVID restrictions are being enforced at the curfew time. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, is the effects, the shock effects on small businesses. Mr. Speaker, we have been told that COVID-19 is a new normal. If it's a new normal, then we must go back to normalizing as many sectors of our economy and social life as we possibly can. One, by mass testing of Kenyans. Two, by mass vaccination of those eligible for vaccinations. If you look at countries, Mr. Speaker, like Israel, they are giving third-round injections or vaccinations to the entire population. America has vaccinated almost 2/3 of the population. Here we are still lagging behind. We understand that the government is receiving a lot of donations and acquisitions of vaccines. But we need extraordinary measures, Mr. Speaker. The luxury of saying you get vaccinated if you agree. We have had cases, Mr. Speaker, previously where a sect called a Corino, who constantly refused to go to hospital, used even to be prosecuted whenever they kept their sick in the houses instead of taking them to hospital. If it is government policy that all eligible vaccinees as citizens of Kenya must be vaccinated, then you cannot speak from both sides of your mouth and say vaccinations are important, must be done, but vaccinations will be voluntary. If this disease is so dangerous that we are vaccinating the whole world, then we cannot have the luxury of telling any Kenyan eligible to be vaccinated that is voluntary. Because the moment we say it's voluntary, we'll have people who will be constantly spreading this virus to others and causing untold death, untold harm, and slowing down our economy. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge the government that whenever you have this kind of situation of restrictions, and Senator Mwenye Haji is right in citing the law, that whenever you want to have restrictions of movements of Kenyans, Parliament has the ultimate say. That's why I said last week, Mr. Speaker, when members were calling for KDF to be sent to Laikipia, I said you can't do that unless you have got an express authority from Parliament, because our military cannot be used for internal order. It is for protecting our territory. Mr. Speaker, as we continue battling with COVID-19, the government must realize that there are so many small businesses that have collapsed. And in fact, it's not just small businesses. I saw on TV last night, Mr. Speaker, a count of 5 four-star hotels that have closed down in Nairobi. They were close to 5 big hotels, Intercon next to Parliament, Radisson Blue, Norfolk, a very iconic hotel in Nairobi, and many others. All this is because of COVID-19. How do we, Mr. Speaker, take measures to reopen the economy? The Minister for Health and the multi-sectoral and multi-agency groups that have been put together must now be designing to tell Kenyans the little do's and don'ts that will normalize life so that the matatu industry does not collapse, the small eateries that employ young single parents does not collapse, the transportation industry taking food to markets does not collapse. We want to run a 24-hour economy so that our economy can be able to sustain our needs as a nation. I support the statement, Mr. Speaker, and I urge the police that in enforcing these restrictions, be fair, be just, and be open. We can't have situations where some places, as soon as it hits 8, the police are knocking. In other places, we've been told of places in certain privileged parts of this city that are open 24 hours. So this uniform application of the law doesn't augur well for a good society. Thank you.
Senator Cherargei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to commend Senator Kwamboka for bringing this timely. Mr. Speaker, I thought the Health Committee, last time we had a discussion and I saw the chair, should have been updating the House on the issues of status of COVID pandemic in the country, just like the Council of Governors have been doing, because we do the oversight, so that they can be telling us the status, because we agree, and I agree with colleagues, that in modern countries, they are now administering the booster after the 2 other doses of vaccination. But, Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate that a curfew, among other containment measures, were done in good faith, but the implementation has been done maliciously. I think the biggest beneficiaries, to be honest, of this curfew pandemic, the curfews, Mr. Speaker, the biggest beneficiaries have been the rogue police officers. I know they are good police officers, but the wayward police officers, the criminal elements within the police service, Mr. Speaker, have been using the issue of curfew to do the unthinkable, Mr. Speaker. Remember the Kianjongoma brothers, and I'm happy the judiciary and the Mr. Speaker, I think you should order Senator Kangata to switch off the noise he's coming with. Mr. Speaker, as I was indicating, we agree with the containment measures that have been put in place. But the rogue police officers within the service, you remember the killing of Kianjongoma the Kianjongoma brothers, Mr. Speaker. You remember even in Lesos, a police station was burned after the police killed a motorbike operator who had no mask. We have seen enormous cases where extortion is being done in broad daylight because of this curfew, Mr. Speaker. So I think in order, we agree that containment measures should be used, but it should not be a license for extortion by the police officers or rogue police officers, Mr. Speaker. And one interesting thing with curfew, the police are so efficient when it comes to implementing the curfew. But when you are attacked and you go to a police station, they tell you there is no fuel. Bring 1,000 shillings or 1,000 or 2,000 shillings for them to be able to attend to an insecurity in a specific place, Mr. Speaker. So I saw the Inspector General of Police engaging the Kenyans on Twitter, which is a good, but he is yet to answer to the country that the issue of roadblocks, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I was privileged to be in your county, and I can assure you all is well. But do you still see police officers on the road, Mr. Speaker? There are many roadblocks next to Webuye there. You have roadblocks. Yet the Inspector General of Police, and Mr. Speaker, the sad thing is that even roadblocks and curfew roadblocks are being put in the villages, even the small roads that are being used by border. But it is so shame, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I was driving through Bungoma all the way to Eldoret and even to Nandi, the roadblocks are still there. So we need, and I wanted to ask the National Security Committee to take up with the IG to ask him what is happening, Mr. Speaker, so that all of us can be safe, Mr. Speaker. Finally, Mr. Speaker, of course we agree the night economy has been killed, Mr. Speaker. You know, in those small vibandas, you could buy mutura in the evening. Those are people who are making money. There are other businesses that are done in the dead of the night. They have been killed, and many Kenyans have been lost, Mr. Speaker. There are others business that were done, maybe car wash and many other businesses that were done at night, Mr. Speaker. There is also effect of the prayers, Mr. Speaker. Nowadays, you cannot go to Kesha because of curfew, and we need people to pray so that curfew can go away, Mr. Speaker. So those are many economies that have been destroyed of the night, Mr. Speaker. Of course, the nocturnal activities have been affected greatly, Mr. Speaker. So all these things have been affected
Senator,
by
you seem
curfew.
to be dwelling so much on nocturnal activities. What is it?
Mr. Speaker, no, I'm not a victim, Mr. Speaker, but I'm just indicating that in by and large that the night economy has seriously been affected. Even the people who go relax in the evening and many others have been affected because those people earn money, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to call upon that this matter should be treated urgently. I agree, Mr. Speaker, as Senator Kwamboka has said, the high-end estates in this country, people operate up to around midnight. But when you go to these small estates within that are called the middle income and the lower cadre estates, like the slums, the police enforce quickly. So, Mr. Speaker, we need uniformity of the implementation, Mr. Speaker, in terms when it comes to curfew, and I hope this matter should be taken seriously, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, I want to thank you and many colleagues who prayed for me. Finally, the charges, and Senator Wetangulo is here. Finally, the politically motivated charges when I was arrested in Kabuchai by-elections have been dropped by the DPP, and it shows by and large, Mr. Speaker, that political persecution and political blackmail continue to be a threat to open and free democracy. But I want to thank Senator Wetangula. He had said I've learned a few lessons on how the game should be done. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Ochilo Ayako.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity here. And Mr. Speaker, just from Senator Cherargei, I think in police health, it is very difficult to enforce curfew because you're already inside there. Now, Mr. Speaker, these curfew regulations, I want to say from the onset that they were intended and they continue to be intended to regulate our lives and to make us safe. But the enforcement of these regulations has not been aligned to common sense. In fact, these regulations have been enforced so ridiculously that many people continue to suffer from how the police are enforcing them. Mr. Speaker, 2 months ago, I lost the parents to my campaign manager, both the father and the wife of my campaign manager. One body was in Nairobi and another body was in Kisumu. So we flew the body from Nairobi to Kisumu, and we expected the bodies to be ferried in one hearse. When we reached Kisumu, these curfew and related regulations, we were told that bodies cannot travel at night. We had a hearse having a body and a family parking in front of a mortuary with passengers, and they could not bring or take home a man and a woman. So I had to look for the powers that be in this nation to have them ferry a man and a woman who had died together with their children. That shows you how ridiculous these regulations are being enforced. Mr. Speaker, you may drive from Nairobi to my village, which is 6 hours, and get a puncture somewhere in Bomet or in Kisii. As you try to fix your vehicle, then curfew time arises. How to explain that to the police? That what you are doing was fixing your vehicle. How to survive in places where you cannot get accommodation. So you can see how ridiculous it is these regulations are being enforced. Now, Mr. Speaker, I come from a county called Migori, which is largely rural. We may have emergencies at home, and we do not have ambulances in Migori. So I'm somewhere in North Kanyamkago and using boda boda or kitanda trying to ferry my patient to hospital. The police will talk to you and stop. You want money, they'll not care that you are attending to an emergency. So the committee concerned should find out how ridiculous these enforcements are. Kenyans must continue to live. The regulations are good, but how they are enforced are not aligned to common sense. We are a common sense nation, and ridiculous enforcement of regulations will make us suffer for nothing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Musuruve.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to support this statement from Senator Kwamboka. And I would like to say, Honorable Speaker, Senator Kwamboka has really brought food for thought on this floor. And when we are talking about COVID, it's not going away any soon. And in many parts of the world, people have gotten back to normalcy. When it comes to business, people are still going on with their business. If you go to places like Turkey, people are going on with their business. In Dubai, people are going on with their business. Why are they doing this, Honorable Speaker? It is because more than 70% of the citizens have been vaccinated, Honorable Speaker. And the countries have taken it upon themselves to ensure that they're coming up with a sustainable, solution to COVID. And there is no sustainable solution to COVID other than the vaccination, Honorable Speaker. Because when you talk about curfew all the time, economy of the area goes down. And we have to look for ways and means of ensuring that our economy springs back to normalcy, Honorable Speaker. We have to see to it that children are also going to school, Honorable Speaker. Because as we are speaking right now, there are so many children, even with disabilities, who have not been vaccinated, Honorable Speaker. And the government must look into ways and means of ensuring that vaccination reaches those children, because they are the vulnerable of the vulnerables. And so when it comes to vaccination, Honorable Speaker, when you're talking about people who should be vaccinated, children with disabilities should be on the front line. The elderly should be on the front line. Teachers should be on the front line. And the whole country should be on the front line, Honorable Speaker. Because when we talk about enhancing curfew, we are not coming up with a lasting solution. We are just empowering the police to keep troubling our citizens, beating them during the curfew hours, and not letting our people go on with their business as usual, Honorable Speaker. I support this statement by Senator Kwamboka.
Finally, Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this statement by my good friend, Senator Kwamboka. Mr. Speaker, the issue of curfew is quite saddening because of the way the law is being applied, or rather the enforcement is being practiced. Mr. Speaker, some of us traverse these counties day and night, and in most cases, and we do that because we work. There are so many Kenyans who work late at night, those who work in the construction industry, and sometimes when they close their jobs at around 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, when they go home, they are arrested. So it defeats. You're trying to protect Kenyans from being in danger or from them not to contract COVID, yet you're making it difficult for them to earn a living. You know, you really cannot, even in law, double jeopardy, you cannot be tried twice. You're already in trouble, and they already put you in a big trouble. Because even for you to be able to get that opportunity to work, you're being literally, you cannot be tried twice for the same offense. That's double jeopardy. So what is happening now is that we just need to reason and see how best we can be able to assist. I support the police in doing their job, 100%. But I think also what we need to do is to find a way so that the senior police officers can also be human, and they can understand that these people are not just exposing themselves to danger. Mr. Speaker, in Nairobi, and we politicians are guilty of this, we have joints that we go and drink, and we can drink in those joints until 3 a.m. Very senior people. But there are other joints which are closed at 7. So really, I think, first of all, it is upon us as leaders to make sure that we don't allow that extension of that, of our fun. Mr. Speaker, when you go to Kilimani, or you go to Village Market, you go to Ruaka, there are pubs which are open almost 24/7. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, hoja yako ni gani, Senator Mazayo?
Senator Ledama, ndugu yangu na rafiki yangu wa karibu sana, lakini ikifika saa maswala ya kuendesha ratiba ya bunge kisawasawa, hapo tunatengana. Nikiuliza hivyo katika hoja ya nidhamu ni kwamba amesema kwamba yeye kama mmoja wa wale viongozi ndani ya hili taifa, kuna mahali anapokwenda wanakaa, polisi wanapajua, wanakunywa ama wanastarehe mpaka saa 9, saa 10 asubuhi wakijivinjari. Sasa wakijivinjari na nani? Hapo hatutaki kwenda huko, lakini tunauliza tu, ikiwa wanajivinjari mpaka saa hizo, na wale walalahoi ama wale ambao hawajiwezi, watu kama wanaoketi wanaojivinjari mahali pale kama Nairobi West, wanaambiwa wafunge hizo starehe zao saa 1. Tofauti yao ni masaa 8 alivyosema yeye. Na ukisema kitu ndani ya bunge ni lazima utaje hapo mahali. Je, ni haki yeye kuongea bila kutaja hapo mahali? Je, anaweza kueleza hili bunge ni watu gani hao wanaoketi mpaka saa hizo, saa 8, saa 9 usiku, na polisi wanaogopa kwenda kuwashika hapo mahali?
I can see another point of order. Senator Cherargei, then you will respond to both of them.
Mr. Speaker, is it in order for Senator Ledama to say leaders go and drink up to 3 a.m.? Yet he knows very well that not all leaders drink. So he should be specific. I think, Mr. Speaker, Senator Ledama is casting aspersions, very serious aspersions, by saying all leaders go and drink up to 3 a.m. He should be at least say some leaders, so that is because Mr. Speaker and he should state. I think Senator Mazayo said state these places that leaders drink up to 3 a.m. while the hustlers drink only up from 5 to 7 p.m. in the evening. Mr. Speaker, is it in order to say all leaders? Yet some of us, and I see most of my colleagues here, I don't want to mention names, only go for kesha, not to drink. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Ledama.
Mr. Speaker, let me respond by saying this. First of all, my good friend, Senator from Kilifi. His mask just broke because he knows very well that I'm saying the truth. So he was not being honest. My colleague, my good friend from Nandi, should pay attention next time when I'm speaking, because I said some of us leaders. I did not generalize it. Now, to respond to it, to their issues, Mr. Speaker, I'll give you the exact date. About a year ago today, our colleague here, Senator Sakaja, was arrested in a pub in Kilimani called Ladies' Lounge. Is Sakaja not a leader? Isn't it among some of us? And I said some of us. And this is the truth, Mr. Speaker. You know, one day I was coming from Narok at around 10:30 p.m. and I passed through Ruaka. And one pub there, I don't remember the name because I don't go into those pubs, was open. When I came to Gigiri, I told those cops there, I said, instead of you stopping these cars here, go and close that pub there. And they said to me, that is a different jurisdiction. So the truth of the matter, even the statement raised by Senator Kwamboka did not name any pub. In fact, Senator Kwamboka gave a general statement and said, explain why there is discrimination enforcement of the curfew hours in the country in general or within Nairobi City County, in particular, where restaurants in Nairobi West area are forced to close at 7 p.m. You know, that's a general statement. So since we are seeking clarification, when you stand here to support a statement, you either seek more clarity, because I would have actually asked my good friend Senator Kwamboka to tell me which restaurants are these. Can you tell me the exact names? Because we know the curfew in Nairobi is at what time? Is it 9 or 9 p.m.? So to be honest, some of the things that I think this committee on security should tell us, maybe when they expound further, is when are we going to open the economy? You know, that is the most important thing. Because we know these fingers are not the same size, Mr. Speaker, and maybe I'm speaking in tongue, but literally, there are those people who live in affluent neighborhoods. You know, they're not equal. Not everyone is equal. I know Senator Cherargei likes talking about hustlers and all that stuff, but the truth of the matter, Kenyans are suffering. Kenyans are suffering because nowadays, if the pubs are closed at 9 p.m., hypothetically, because now we hear some are closed at 7 p.m., there are those people who cannot be paid a full salary because they cannot be able to continue working. The businesses are hurting. So, Mr. Speaker, we know this economy is bleeding. And let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, we, and I always say we, because I hope that someday we can actually be able to really reflect on our roles as leaders. Right now, taxes in this country, we are taxing. You know, this country, we are killing this country. We cannot tax a country to posterity. All we are doing is that we are killing it. You know, it's COVID time. Curfew, you know, we are attacking the police. And think about it. Sometimes, Mr. Speaker, those police officers are standing there from 5:30 in the morning because they have to clear you, Mr. Speaker. If you are going to Karen now, where you live, Mr. Speaker, the police will stand there and clear you. If they know that the Speaker is coming to work here, they will clear the Speaker to get here. So what we need to do is also to think about the police as humans and then find a way that we pass legislation here to regulate this issue of curfew. Mr. Speaker, in the statement, I would like the Security Committee also to tell us what happened with that judgment in the High Court. I know the Law Society of Kenya filed a case challenging curfew regulations. What happened? You know, so that we can all be fair. Us politicians, Mr. Speaker, we constantly hold political rallies. When the police come there, they try to enforce them. We say we are being sidelined. Oh, it's only a few of us who are being regulated. Others are not being regulated. So to end, Mr. Speaker, as I support this statement, can I finish?
What's your point of order, Senator Cherargei?
is it in order for Senator Ledamo Lekina to say us politicians continue holding rallies, trying to speak from the high moral ground, yet yesterday he was in Azimio La Umoja meeting, where when we watched in the news yesterday, the people were crowded in a room and he was speaking. So he should be leading by example by avoiding also, because he's a leader. Is it in order to cast aspersions, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, I think my friend needs to understand English. I said us. You know, I did not point. He is not the only politician here. It is all of us. So it is our responsibility for us to be able to lead by example. We are not leading by example. So, Mr. Speaker, as I finalize, because that was not a point of order. It was just a point of disturbance.
What he was saying, what he was saying is, as much as you are preaching that we must lead by example, you are not doing it yourself. So you need to do that yourself before you preach to others to follow. I think that's the point he's raising.
Mr. Speaker, his point is, anyway, let me not use a word that I wanted to use, because then he'll be up in arms and we'll continue on this statement forever. But what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, the economy is hurting. We need also to realize that the police are human. So when we give instructions to the implementation of this curfew rules and regulations, we need to be sober enough. And I want to call upon the Ministry of Interior to really think about the welfare of not only the police, but also to think about the welfare of Kenyans. This issue of pubs, if we allow pubs to close at 9, let it be uniform. So my plea to the Security Committee is that when they are giving responses to Senator Kwamboka, they should go further by coming in and telling us that the entire country, the time to close pubs or restaurants is 9 p.m. or 7 p.m. so that it is uniform. Number two, Mr. Speaker, and I finalize here, even in those pubs and all those businesses that we have, most Kenyans who do not have a voice, and I'm sure we speak here as a voice of Kenyans, suffer. Because if they are mistreated in any business, if they want to find out who the owner of that business is, they will not be told. So it is important that in any business in this country, for those businesses, restaurants, to display the ownership. They have to clearly indicate there that this is the owner of the business, this is the manager, so that they have a complaint mechanism. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you so much. I think the point has been made about it was a good statement about uniformity in enforcement of the law. Senator Enoch Wamboa. So it's deferred. Senator Enoch Wamboa had two statements. So Senator Kangata, you are now properly in the chamber.
First is to apologize, Mr. Speaker, sir, for being in an office which has a safety belt, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48, Sabbatical 1, to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Trade, Tourism and Industrialization regarding the operation of Murang'a County creameries. Mr. Speaker, in the said statement, the committee should, 1, state the ownership structure of Murang'a County creameries, including the share of the creameries owned by farmers. 2, inform the House on the level of farmers' representation in the running and management of Murang'a County creameries and the cooling plants in the dairy sector value chain in the county, particularly in regard to the decision-making process. Number 3, spell out the reasons why Murang'a County creameries is not operational, taking into account that milk is very perishable and therefore requires a steady market. Finally, explain why the creamery has not paid farmers their arrears for milk deliveries, as well as transport costs and rental arrears for cooling plants. Mr. Speaker, sir, Murang'a County Creameries, which is owned by Murang'a County government, owes Murang'a farmers millions of shillings. And they are complaining, and that is why I have brought this petition, so that this House can intervene and ensure Murang'a farmers are duly paid. Milk is currently being produced by almost 70% of Murang'a households. We need an explanation as to why there are delayed payments and why, finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, we cannot have a situation where Murang'a farmer is being paid about 42 shilling per litre, which is currently the market price for milk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that brings us to the end of the statement hour. Though we had passed the notices of motion, but I'll use my discretion to allow Senator Dulo to issue notices of motion. Distinguished Senator Fatuma Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to give notice of the following motions. Reconstitution of standing committees. Mr. Speaker, sir, that notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate made on 14 December 2017, 14 February 2018, 21st February 2018, 21st November 2018, 20th March 2019, 19 June 2019, 28 April 2020, and 24th June 2020 on the approval of senators to serve in the various standing committees of the Senate, and pursuant to Standing Orders 189, 218, and the second schedule of the Standing Orders, the Senate approves the following senators nominated by the Senate Business Committee to serve in the Standing Committee of the Senate as follows. Committee on Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries. Senator Professor Margaret Kamar, EGH MP, to replace Senator Engineer Ephraim Maina, MP. Number 2, Senator Haji Abdul Mohamed, MP, to replace Senator Dr. Mbito Michael Malinga, MP. Number 3, Senator Dr. Gertrude Musuruve Inima, MP, to replace Senator Boy Isa Juma, MP. Number 4, Senator Agnes Kavindu Mudhama, MP, to serve as a member. Number 2, Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations. Number 1, Senator Njeru Ndwiga, EGH MP, to replace Senator Aaron Cheriot. Number 2, Senator Samson Cherarge, MP, to serve as a member. Number 3, Senator Irungu Kangata, MP, to serve as a member. And Senator Agnes Kavindu, MP, to serve as a member. Number 3, Committee on Education. Senator Naomi Shionga Masitsa, MP, to replace Senator Dr. Gertrude Musuruve Inima, MP. Number 2, Senator Boy Isa Juma, MP, to replace Senator Professor Imana Malaki Charles Ekal, MP. 4, Committee on Energy. Senator Susan Kihika, MP, to replace Senator Abshiro Halake, MP. Number 2, Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, EGH, MP, to replace Senator John Nderitu Kinyua, MP. Number 3, Senator Haji Abdul, MP, to serve as a member. Number 4, Senator Moses Wetangula, EGH, MP, to replace Senator Professor Imana Malaki Ekal, MP. 5, Committee on Finance Budget. Senator Professor Samson Ongeri, EGH, MP, to replace Senator Dr. Ochilo Ayako, EGH, MP. 6, Committee on Information Communication Technology. Number 1, Senator Samuel Pogisio, EGH, MP, to replace Senator Gideon Moi, CBS, MP. Number 2, Senator Engineer Mohamed Mohamed Maalim, CBS, MP, to replace Senator Susan Kihika. Number 3, Senator Moses Kajwang, MP, to replace Senator Petronila Were Lokorio, MP. Number 4, Senator Dr. Gertrude Musuruve Anima, MP, to replace Senator Mercy Chebeni, MP. 7, Committee on Justice, Legal and Human Rights. Senator Engineer Ephraim Maina, to serve as a member. Number 8, Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. Senator Ledama Olekina, MP, to replace Senator Jones Mwaruma. Number 2, Senator Philip Salau Mpaye, MP, to replace Senator Paul Mwangi Githiomi. 9, Committee on Land, Environment, Natural Resources, Senator Dr. Alice Milgo, MP, to replace Senator Ndwiga Peter Njeru, MP. And further, that Senator Gideon Moi, CBS MP, ceases being a member of the committee. Number 10, Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration, Senator Abshiro Halake, MP, to replace Senator Dr. Christopher Andrew Langat, MP. Number 2, Senator Dr. Achilo Ayako, EGH, MP, to replace Senator Dr. Gertrude Musuruve. 11, Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations. Number 1, Gideon Moi, CBS MP, to replace Senator Engineer Mohamed Maalim, CBS MP. And number 2, Senator Paul Mwangi Githiomi, MP, to serve as a member. 12, Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industrialization, Senator Aaron Cheriot, MP, to replace Senator Philip Mpaye. Number 2, Senator Professor Imana Malaki Charles Ekal, MP, to replace Senator Dr. Agnes Zani, CBS MP. Lastly, Senator Petronila Were Lokorio, MP, to replace Senator Mercy Chebeni. Mr. Speaker, the second notice of motion is that notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate made on 14 February 2018 and 24 June 2020 on the approval of the Senate to serve in the Committee of Powers and Privileges, and pursuant to Section 15(1)(b) Roman 2 of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act and Standing Order 189, the Senate approves following senators nominated to serve in the Committee of Powers and Privileges. Number 1, Senator Canon Naomi Wako, MP, to replace Senator Dr. Alice Milgo, MP. Number 2, Senator Christine Zawadi Gona, MP, to replace Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, EGH MP. Number 3, Senator Haji Abdul Mohamed, MP, to replace Senator Kimani Wamatangi. The third one, Mr. Speaker, that pursuant to Standing Order 17, the Senate approves the nomination of Senator John Deritu Kinyua, MP, as a member of the Speaker's panel, and further to be elected to preside over the Senate in the absence of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker pursuant to Article 107, 1C of the Constitution and Standing Order 15 of the Senate. Finally, notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate made on 30th March 2021 on the approval of the senators to serve in the Sessional Committee on delegated legislation and pursuant to Standing Orders 189 and 219, then the Senate approves the nomination of Senator Professor Samson Ongeri, EGH, to replace Senator Eric Okongo Omgeni, Senior Council MP, as a member of the Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 8, motion, adoption of the report of the Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation on the Public Finance Management Sinking Fund Guidelines 2021.
You seem to have heard me silently. Yeah, I think it's you who had not finished contributing. So, yes, Senator Faki.
I move the report. Yes. Madam Speaker, I would have loved to move this report in Kiswahili. However, due to the technical nature, many members will be lost. So I beg to move that the Senate adopts the report of the Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation on the consideration of the Public Finance Management Sinking Fund Guidelines 2021. Madam Speaker, let me give a brief background before delving into the content of the said report. The Public Finance Management Sinking Fund Guidelines 2021 were published by the Cabinet Secretary, the National Treasury, on 25th May 2021, pursuant to Regulation 2063.
Senator Faki.
Yes.
You did not complete in moving. Please complete the whole sentence so that it's on record. Read the whole motion.
Sorry, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Senate adopts the report of the Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation on the consideration of the Public Finance Management Sinking Fund Guidelines 2021, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 8 September 2021, and that pursuant to Section 18 of the Statutory Instruments Act and Section 205 of the Public Finance Management Act and Standing Order number 2214B, the Senate annuls in its entirety the Public Finance Management Sinking Fund Guidelines 2021. Madam Speaker, the Public Finance Management Sinking Fund Guidelines 2021 were published by the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury on the 25th of May 2021, pursuant to Regulation 2063 of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulations 2015, and are intended to be applied to the management of the sinking fund established under Regulation 2061 of the regulations. The guidelines were submitted to the Senate by the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury on the 3rd of June, pursuant to Section 11(1) of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013. The guidelines were then tabled before the Senate by the Majority Leader on the 6th of July 2021 and subsequently committed to the Senate Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation. The Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation considered the guidelines and received submissions from the National Treasury on the 1st of September 2021 and from the Central Bank of Kenya on 7th of September 2021. The guidelines are made pursuant to Regulation 2063 of the Public Finance National Government Regulations 2015 and are intended to be applied to the management of the sinking fund established under Regulation 2061 of the said regulations. The purpose of the fund, Madam Speaker, a sinking fund is created and set up purposefully for redemption of government loans and securities. Certain amount of money is regularly set aside to finance both the principal and interest of the public debt before its maturity date reaches. The objective of the fund is to mitigate future cash flow challenges arising from heavy repayment of debts whose grace periods have expired. This shall facilitate paying off maturing public debts, buying back bonds with interest when the interest is low, and retire some of the debts early to avoid higher costs in the future. Madam Speaker, capital of the fund, the sources of the fund shall include consolidated fund budget vote for redemption of debts and other debt-related expenses from the exchequer to be remitted to the fund continuously. Monies appropriated by Parliament for purposes of the fund, fees and commissions earned by the Public Debt Management Office in execution of its mandate, income invested from the balances of the fund, foreign exchange gains from external loans to the national government, and any monies accruing to or received by the fund from any other lawful source with the approval of the Cabinet Secretary, and any other sources of the fund provided for by an Act of Parliament. Expenditures of the fund, payments out of the fund shall be for redemption of government loans and payment of expenses incidental to the loans. Other administrative expenditures shall be on the basis of annual work plans and cost estimates that shall be prepared by the administrator of the fund, recommended by the committee and approved by the Cabinet Secretary at the beginning of the financial year to which they relate. Madam Speaker, establishment of the Sinking Fund Advisory Committee. It is proposed that the committee membership be made up of the PS in charge of finance as the chairperson, the Director General PDMO as secretary, that is Public Debt Management Office, DG Accounting and Services and Quality Assurance, and the Director General Public Investment and Management Portfolio. The key functions of the Advisory Committee shall include providing advice on administrative administration of the fund, and reviewing and recommending the revenue and expenditure estimates of the fund to the CS in each financial year. The fund administrator shall be the head of the Public Debt Management Office. Honorable Speaker, some key observations made by the Committee on the Guidelines were as follows. Number one, Kenya set up the first sinking fund in the 1960s under the Internal Loans Act, Chapter 420 of the Laws of Kenya. The fund remained dormant, and the process of winding up the fund is currently before the National Assembly. B, Section 50, Subsection 8 of the Public Finance Management Acts permit the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Treasury, with the approval of Parliament, to establish such a sinking fund or funds for the redemption of loans raised under this Act by the national government. Despite this, Regulation 2062 of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulations 2015 limits the scope of the fund to payment of expenses of and incidental to redemption of an issue of government securities and the redemption of an issue of government securities. Despite the limitation above, the guidelines has currently drafted, as per guideline number 32, expand the scope of the fund to include national government loans that are not envisaged under the provisions of Regulation 206, Subregulation 2 of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulations 2015. Conflict with the Central Bank of Kenya Act. Madam Speaker, Section 4A(1) of the Central Bank Act mandates the Central Bank of Kenya to formulate and implement foreign policy and foreign exchange policy and hold and manage its foreign exchange reserves. It further observes that Guideline 5E of the guidelines provides that one of the sources of the fund shall consist of the foreign exchange gains from external loans to the national government. The committee noted that the National Treasury is not mandated to hold foreign exchange reserves, and as a result, Guideline number 5E of the guidelines is inconsistent with Section 4A(1) of the Central Bank of Kenya Act. E, the committee further observed that guidelines fail to take into consideration Clause 4A(1)(e) of the Central Bank Act, which mandates the CBK to be the fiscal agent of the government. F, the committee observed that it was unclear how foreign exchange gains from external loans to the national government shall be realized when the sinking fund is comprised in local currency. This observation was made on the basis that the Central Bank of Kenya informed the committee that whereas the sinking fund is in local currency, Kenya shillings, the guidelines under Section 5, the guidelines under Regulation 5, under Guideline number 5E, provide for the realization of foreign exchange gains from external loans to the national government. The committee was further informed that the realization of foreign exchange gains from external loans to the national government will not ordinarily happen unless the amount of local currency accumulated was more than that needed to offset the external loans obligations at the prevailing exchange rate. Madam Speaker, the guidelines proposed the establishment of a sinking fund advisory committee, which is proposed to consist of the Principal Secretary in charge of finance as the chairperson, the Director General, Public Debt Management Office as the Secretary, the Director General, Accounting Services and Quality Assurance as the Director, and the Director General, Public Investment and Portfolio Management. The committee observed, Madam Speaker, that the Central Bank of Kenya is not a member of the committee, yet Section 4A(1)(e) of the Central Bank of Kenya Act, the bank is the fiscal agent of the government. Madam Speaker, consultations before making the instrument as per Section 5 and 5A on proof or demonstration of sufficient public consultation, the National Treasury in the explanatory memorandum indicated that it had invited interested members of the public to submit written memorandum and comments on the guidelines. The National Treasury did not, however, provide proof of such consultations made in the development of the guidelines. From the presentations made by the Central Bank, a key player in the public finance sector with a constitutional responsibility to formulate monetary policy, it was clear that it had not been consulted in the making of the regulations. Therefore, and there is therefore a need for effective consultations to be undertaken with the relevant stakeholders. Madam Speaker, it is on the basis of these observations that the committee recommends that the Senate resolves that the Public Management Sinking Fund Guidelines 2021 be annulled. Madam Speaker, I just wish to add that Kenya, throughout its existence, has not defaulted on any of its loan obligations. And therefore, setting up of this fund will deprive the economy of useful funds that could be channeled into very useful and income-generating projects, unlike the present situation where the fund proposes to just reserve the funds for payment of future loans. Madam Speaker, the other aspect of the matter is that at the moment, we have experienced situations where funds are delayed to be taken to the counties. So we cannot afford at this particular time funds being set aside, yet counties are suffering without receiving any funds. Madam Speaker, I beg to move, and I ask Senator Kajwang to second this report. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kajwang.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation that has recommended the annulment of the Sinking Fund regulations that have been brought before the House. Madam Speaker, in agreeing with the Committee on Delegated Legislation, which we have given the responsibility of considering and getting to the details of all regulations brought before this House, Madam Speaker, I'm satisfied that the committee, in recommending annulment, has reached out to the relevant stakeholders, has looked at the merits and demerits of the action that they propose the House to adopt, and in doing so, they have put the best interest of the nation first. Madam Speaker, a sinking fund is not a new thing. In the United Kingdom, in the 1700s, they established, I think that is when the sinking funds were first established, because a sinking fund is established by a sovereign entity, and they set aside revenue over a period of time to fund a future capital expenditure or repayment of a loan. Madam Speaker, the sinking fund is generally funded by revenue surplus or budgetary surpluses. And in our country, over the last couple of years, since the Kibaki days, we have never had a budget surplus. We are in constant budget deficit. So we can't have a surplus that we can set aside and say that this money is saved for a day when we'll be repaying our loans. In fact, Madam Speaker, it is quite an oxymoron that a country that does not have adequate resources to finance its development and has to go to foreign lenders to advance its loans would then set aside funds for payment of those loans. If we had the money in the first place, we would not even be going for those loans. And so, Madam Speaker, I think that the thinking is a little bit warped. Even though the PFM Act has provided the space for the CS Treasury to establish a sinking fund, we must remember that this country has had a sinking fund that was established in the 1960s under the Internal Loans Act. And from the 1960s to date, Madam Speaker, that sinking fund has not been operationalized. And currently, there is a process of winding it down. It would be important for Treasury to tell us what they are going to do differently to ensure that this sinking fund is viable. And as we've said, we do not have a surplus that we can set aside for this. Madam Speaker, I agree with the Delegated Legislation Committee, especially in its finding that the Central Bank of Kenya has not been appropriately consulted and represented in the proposed oversight and advisory board of the sinking fund. Madam Speaker, the Central Bank of Kenya is a fiscal agent of the government of Kenya. And in many respects, they've done well. It is my view that when it comes to monetary policy, the Central Bank of Kenya has done exceedingly well. And I want to laud the governor of the Central Bank of Kenya, and I know that he's been working hard to ensure that he builds a capacity of the Central Bank of Kenya
recently he tapped into a very experienced a person when it comes to matters of economics, a gentleman called Professor Mudida, to head the research department of the Central Bank of Kenya. I believe the Central Bank of Kenya, if they tell us that this sinking fund as proposed by Treasury is not viable, then we need to listen to them. Madam Speaker, CBK as a fiscal agent of the government, as an entity that manages the forex reserves of this country, cannot be left out of the advice, operations, and oversight of this sinking fund. Madam Speaker, I want to conclude, as I support the committee, by also saying that we have so many other budgetary priorities that ring-fencing funds and setting them in a pot somewhere for payment of loans might not be feasible. What we need to do is to ensure that our budget goes to fund productive sectors of the economy. If the wealth of a nation is measured by the services and goods it produces, what we should be doing is to fund and to finance productive sectors, dairy, livestock, agriculture, aquaculture, tourism, manufacturing. Those are the sectors that are going to generate wealth, Madam Speaker. And it is through that wealth that we are going to get taxes, and it is through those taxes that we are going to get money to repay our debts. Setting aside funds in this manner, even though it is an economic practice, sounds lazy to me. And I think that the CS Treasury should very much be concerned about enhancing the productivity of this economy so that we grow our GDP and our wealth. Madam Speaker, I thank the Delegated Legislation Committee because time and time again, they have confirmed that Senate is not a walkover when it comes to legislation through regulation. And Madam Speaker, I want to encourage the chair of this committee to continue scrutinizing all the regulations that are brought to this House, bring back the reports in a timely manner, because when they delay, some of those regulations take effect automatically. I want to urge the House to support the committee in its findings, and I want to ask Treasury to go back to the drawing board, have a conversation with the Central Bank of Kenya, have a conversation with all stakeholders, look at the bigger picture of growing the pie, rather than ring fencing and keeping money in a pot somewhere, so that when they bring back regulations to this House, there'll be regulations that will not be contested by key stakeholders within the sector. Madam Speaker, I second.
Thank you, Senator. Honorable Senators, I now propose the motion that the Senate adopts the report of the Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation on the consideration of the Public Finance Management Sinking Fund Guidelines 2021, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, the 8th September 2021, and that pursuant to Section 18 of the Statutory Instruments Act, Section 205 of the Public Finance Management Act, and Standing Order 2214B, announced in its entirety the Public Finance Management Sinking Fund Guidelines 2021. Senator Olekina Ledama.
Madam Speaker, I must admit that you caught me unaware and not fully ready, but let me give the few points that I wanted to give.
I would start with Senator Mboko.
That would be
two of you were
that would be really good.
Queuing.
Yes.
Senator Mboko, George Ochilayako.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to make my remarks regarding this matter. Madam Speaker, I would like to give accolade and positive tribute to the able chair of this committee, my learned friend and colleague, and also a person we went to the same university with, for chairing this committee, looking at the delegated legislation in time, and making recommendation that shows the independence of this committee and this House. Madam Speaker, the Senate and the Parliament generally, including National Assembly, are the ones that are empowered to legislate. We are the ones who are constitutionally given the responsibility to legislate. Delegated legislation is a short leash extended to certain entities to come up with legislation that would perfect or that would enable them discharge functions that arise from substantive legislation that is associated with performance of their function. Madam Speaker, it is not their business, it is not their core function to legislate. So it is important for Parliament, Senate and National Assembly to be watchful of what they intend to do to extend or to encroach into the legislative mandate of the Senate. And Madam Speaker, I'm happy with this committee as chaired by my able colleague and learned friend, Senator Faki, when they have recommended that a thorough look needs to be made to this proposal by Treasury. Treasury as an institution, particularly in this epoch, has been very opaque. Treasury has never come forth, and I'm in Finance Committee as Vice Chair, so I speak with authority. They have never come forth, they have never been open, they have never been transparent when it comes to funds under their control and discretion. We have something that is called Equalization Fund that we have been completely unaware about, and we have completely not seen how it has been implemented. Equalization Fund as something that has come into being and was established pursuant to law and has associated regulation, has never been implemented and has never benefited anybody. So you can see the opacity with which they have handled that fund. I doubt whether their handling of this fund that they intend to set will be very different. So if we are establishing this fund or permitting its establishment under the same environment, I do not think that the output would be any different. So, Madam Speaker, I am in agreement with the committee that we need to be watchful, not just with our two eyes, but with all our organs. We need to be watchful with our ears as we listen to what has been happening. We need to look at the history of the behavior of this National Treasury, and we need to be sure that when we authorize this, it will be for the benefit of Kenyans. So, Madam Speaker, that is one point. The second point is that as you look at the economy and its performance today, everybody knows that we are indebted up to our hair. We owe monies left, right, and center. We are forced to go to predictable sources for taxes like fuel and others in order to meet our financial revenue targets. So why and what makes it urgent to establish a fund when how to put money into that fund is in doubt? Is it a priority to establish a fund now when we do not have a fund, when we have pending bills that are so many that we are not paying for them? So where are we going to get money? Where are we going to get resources to sink into this sinking fund? So because it does appear that we do not have excess funds for sinking into this sinking fund, I doubt whether it is our priority to establish this fund unless a magic wand would emerge from the current National Treasury to be able to put money into this fund. Madam Speaker, if you look at public institutions that are expecting funds from Treasury, the judiciary is crying foul. The judiciary is screaming for quick disbursement of what is in their budget. all these 47 counties, including your own, Madam Speaker, Uasin Gishu County, has not been funded, and workers out there in Uasin Gishu have not gotten their share of revenue. In Migori County, where I come from, the county assembly is yet to pay members and staff. Workers have not been paid. Pending bills are heaped and are lying there. They have not been paid. So what is it that National Treasury are in a hurry to establish a sinking fund when in the first place they do not have funding, and they are unlikely to have funding to put there? So I smell mischief, and I believe that there is no urgency. I believe that we should listen with all our organs, including our intuition, including our ears, including our stomachs and our senses, to know why this bill is of such an urgent nature that it needs to be, to know why these regulations are of such an urgent nature that we need to establish the sinking fund. My gut feeling says that what the Delegated Legislation Committee of the Senate has smelled is what we all need to smell. So I want to wholeheartedly, with both my mind, spirit, and belief, be in support of the position that the Delegated Legislation Committee has arrived at, and agree with them in entirety, send this proposal back to National Treasury and ask them to come out and tell us what we have not been told about this proposal. I beg to support the motion, Madam Speaker, or the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Olekina Ladam.
Madam Speaker, I thank you, and thank you for allowing me to compose my few words. I want to go straight to the point. I rise to support the report by the Delegated Legislation Committee, Sessional Committee, in terms of their findings in regards to setting up of a sinking fund in this country. Madam Speaker, sometimes I ask myself whether what is written on paper can become practical in this country. Madam Speaker, when you look at the devolved government structure currently, a lot of county governments are crying that employees have not been paid, MCAs have not been paid. Until last week, Madam Speaker, most counties were not sure of when they'll ever get money. But here, we have Treasury working on their own, without consulting even the central bank, decide that the Kenyan economy is doing so well, we have extra money that we can be able to set aside to be able to pay for future loans. Yet currently, we are struggling to pay the existing loans. Madam Speaker, I'm very happy with the work done by the Committee on Delegated Legislation, because they have made it easy for Kenyans to understand what is actually happening in this country. Madam Speaker, in layman terms, a sinking fund is where you set money aside. That money doesn't earn any interest. It literally means that you have so much money that you are capable of paying all the loans currently that you have. You have a perfect economy. Everyone in the 47 counties is being paid their salary on time. The doctors are not striking because the county governments are not able to meet their contracts. You know, you have extra money. In fact, in basic terms, it means you are setting money aside for a Christmas holiday in the Bahamas. You have enough money right now. So you want to be able to wait until in Christmas time. You don't have to save money then. You can go back to your sinking fund and get money for you to go and enjoy. What Treasury should be telling us is that now, because we don't have a lot of money, we want to work with central bank such that we can negotiate on either current loans or any future loans. We can restructure our loans. Last year, Madam Speaker, when we were having the debate on the debt ceiling, Treasury gave us the reason as to why they wanted to increase the debt ceiling. They told us we are doing so that we can be able to restructure our loans. Today, Treasury is actually telling us that no, we are doing so well such that we can stop. We have paid everyone, we have sent money to county governments on time, and now we have enough money to be able to set up a sinking fund. Isn't that an oxymoron, Madam Speaker? You know, I think we need to be alive to the fact that this country, what is written in paper is not the reality out there. You know, we have so many ways, and those are the ways that we should be exploring. You know, instead of putting money aside that doesn't earn any interest, we should ask ourselves whether we are biting more than we can chew. We should ask ourselves whether these loans that we've never had a problem paying for them since independence. In fact, if it is on a credit report, our credit is very good. It is not like the millions of Kenyans who are listed in CRB. The way we are currently, Madam Speaker, every country out there wants to do business with Kenya because we pay our loans. The moment we now start setting money aside to pay future loans is the moment we'll start having problems meeting our obligations. So, Madam Speaker, I really would like to request Treasury, before coming up with any regulations, to take their time, consult. In fact, I know Treasury have, I think they have a parastatal, which is called Kipra. Sit down with them, you know, with that body, utilize the intelligence of the members of that body, sit down with the central bank and find out what are we doing wrong. Everyone talks about the issue of this country being broke. When did we stop being broke, Madam Speaker, such that we have enough money to be able to set aside? Last year, Madam Speaker, when we kept our counties waiting to receive money, when we were engaged in a debate where we voted for more than 10 times on the revenue formula, most of us who were in the know and who could sit down and do mathematics were actually asking themselves, where are we going to get this extra 42 billion to be sent to the counties? Then cleverly, the executive played with our minds and added 70 billion. But what they did not tell us then is that they are taking all the conditional grants and lumping all that money and then now giving it out to the counties. But I'm very happy that at least this Senate is alive to the fact that conditional grants cannot be shareable revenue. And that is the reason why we now had to come up with a conditional grant legislation. So that when we are sending money to the counties as conditional grants, we follow a particular law. We do not commingle funds. So, Madam Speaker, I fully support this report, and I want to urge all the other committees. But in most cases, this will fall into the committee of my good friend, Senator Haji from Mombasa. Is it Senator Haji? Mwinyi Haji. I really appreciate what you've done. You've saved this country. You are saving this country. You are saving the future generation. Let us not just do things for the sake of doing them. Earlier on, Madam Speaker, I stated on the floor of this House that we can never tax Kenyans or any country cannot impose taxes for posterity. The taxes that we are increasing on our Kenyans are taxes that are killing them. If we have enough money, and I want to send this message to Treasury, if we have so much money such that we can set up a sinking fund, let us start by cutting down the taxes that we are taxing our Kenyans. Madam Speaker, if you buy a simple product from abroad, a product that will cost you maybe 50,000 shillings, here in Kenya, it's 150,000 shillings. Look at fuel as an example, Madam Speaker. The cost of bringing fuel into this country to the port is 56 shillings per liter. But because of taxes, we end up paying 110 shillings per liter. This is a debate we normally have every 14th of every month. So, Madam Speaker, I really believe that my good friend, Ukuri Yatani, means well for this country. I think before forwarding anything to Parliament, he should sit down with these people and tell them, no, enough. And if there is anyone out there, Madam Speaker, who does not notice that this country is bleeding and that every single penny which is out there should be sent to counties, we should fix the roads, we should send more money to counties rather than just saving money, putting it aside, that person needs to wake up, Madam Speaker. We must learn to live within our means. We must stop this utopian thinking that if you've set up some money aside, you can be able to, you've already taken care of everything that needs to be taken care of. So, Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I support and I fully appreciate the work of Senator Mwinyi Haji on this matter.
Thank you very much, Senator. There being no other request, I would like to call on the chair of delegated legislation. Okay, Senator Wetangula, yes, he had not pressed earlier.
Madam Speaker, I was in some discussion with some senators there. Madam Speaker, I support this report and thank the distinguished senator from Mombasa for a job well done. Madam Speaker, our country has done well and has not done so well in many respects. We've done well to the extent that we are not one of the notorious loan defaulters. In fact, we are not a loan defaulter in any way in our borrowings. But we have not done so well because we borrow heavily. We borrow heavily to the extent that, Madam Speaker, in the 90s, we were spending over 35% of our GDP in debt service. Now we are spending even more. Debt service is a very heavy burden on our economy. And when you have such a burden on your economy, you cannot then enjoy the luxury of having a sinking fund, where you're just putting money in an escrow account. It lies there, earns no interest, no purpose other than when you are under stress, you can use it to pay your debts, when you are not a defaulter, and when there is no lender threatening to take you to the Paris Club, the place that many defaulting countries get arraigned before. And the conspiracy of international capital, Madam Speaker, is that a default of payment of loans to Germany or to France or to the US or to the UK or to China or Japan, you are all arraigned before an informal sitting called the Paris Club, where you are blacklisted, and if the Germans blacklist you, you automatically become blacklisted by all the Western lenders. This money that has been in this account, Madam Speaker, has also not been money that has been run transparently or earning interest. We have, as the Constitution 2010 requires, we need free flow of information, particularly to Houses of Parliament, and that one would expect the Treasury to bring a statement of this account to Parliament annually for the House to know how much money there is there. And when you establish a fund like that, even when you take out the money, you need the authority of Parliament. We have never had any such engagements with the Treasury, Madam Speaker. So the wisdom of Senator Mwinyi Haji and his team to annul the regulations that set up this fund is laudable, because when we have, like Senator Fonaroka said, medics are crying they're not being paid. Counties are crying money is not going there in good time. Projects are stalling because there isn't enough money to keep them going. And yet you have money lying in an account that is idle, that does nothing. It's like what they do in the Ministry of Energy, Madam Speaker. When you want to be a user of the pipeline, you put in the pipeline a million liters of fuel called dead stock. That million liters is just to fill your void in the pipeline. You don't use it, you don't benefit from it, but it is there. That is a luxury nobody in business can afford. And I want to support this report very strongly, and it's going to lift a lid on a discomfort that I'm sure even the Treasury itself has been suffering, that you are putting money somewhere and you don't touch it. What I would expect, Madam Speaker, and I thought my colleague from Narok would go that far, is that what we need now is to create structures for a sovereign fund. A sovereign fund where proceeds from our extractive industry, including the oil, including minerals, can be kept there with a maturity period that is so strict, the way Sweden has done, the way Norway has done with their sovereign fund, where once money is put in their sovereign account, it matures after 50 years. And now when you look at the economies of Norway, of Sweden, they are awash with money that is maturing from the time they started their oil exports and oil wealth generation. So we need, Madam Speaker, the Committee of Finance and the Mwinyi committee to start engaging the Treasury on how to craft very tight regulations for the creation of a sovereign fund that will be very handy in the future. And the good thing with the sovereign fund, Madam Speaker, is it's put in an interest earning account. You don't touch it until maturity. And when it matures, it is then released into the economy to boost the economy. That way, we'll be using our resources more prudently than putting our money in a sinking fund. I support the report and thank the committee for a job well done.
Thank you, Senator. I see another member, Senator Matsayo Stewart Mwachiro.
Asante sana Bispika. Bispika, kitu cha kwanza ningependa kumpatia kongole ndugu yangu seneta wa Mombasa Mohamed Mwenye Haji Faki kwa kuweza kuleta maelezo kama haya kuhusikana na mambo ya hii hazina. Bispika, kwanza naunga mkono. Ziko sababu tatu ambazo nataka niunge. Cha kwanza ni kwamba hii hazina ya kuzama. Hazina ya kuzama hii inaambiwa ni hazina ya kuzama, Bispika, kwa sababu ni kitu ambacho kinatarajiwa. Si kitu ambacho kiko hivi sasa. Na ni kwamba ile mikopo ambayo itapatikana wakati wa siku za usoni ama siku zijazo, hii hazina inaanzishwa hivi sasa ni kwamba iweze kutafakari kuweza kulipa yale madeni ama kuweza kulipa ile mikopo ya siku za usoni. Bispika, tunaona jambo kama hilo si jambo la kisawasawa, kwa sababu huwezi kuchukua pesa hivi sasa ukaziweka katika shimo alafu ukasema ya kwamba zitaweza kulipa madeni ya hapo mbeleni. Bispika, ni kwamba hakuna hata siku moja. Cha pili ni kwamba hakuna hata siku moja serikali yetu ama nchi yetu imeshindwa kulipa hizi pesa, madeni ambayo yameingia katika nchi. Madeni yote yanayoingia tunajua tunafanya mipango ili iweze kulipwa yale madeni. Lakini utaona sasa hivi sasa kumetokea mabonyenye ambao wanaweza kutumia akili ya kwamba kanuni za zile hazina ambazo zinatakana kuwekwa katika mikono ya Central Bank hivi sasa wanaziweka katika Treasury, na utaona ya kwamba wale ambao wanatakana katika ile Central Bank wawe pia watahusika na zile kuweka hizi katika hii hazina hii ya kuzama, ili waweze kuchangia kuona ya kwamba ni sheria mwafaka zinafuatwa, ili yale madeni ambayo yataka kulipwa ama hasia kulipwa ama ni sheria kanuni zinafuatiliwa. Ni kwamba hawako katika ile meza ya kuangalia matakwa haya ambayo yanaendelea hivi sasa katika ofisi ya fedha. Speaker, la mwisho tunaona ya kwamba usimamizi mkuu ambao unatakana kuangalia mambo ya hizi pesa ni usimamizi ambao ni lazima ama ni sharti huo unafanywa katika majukumu ya watu wawili, mikono ile ya Central Bank ama benki ile yetu ya kati kubwa na mikono ya Treasury. Lakini kulinganisha na sheria, ikiwa mkono mmoja hautaweza kuwekwa katika hiyo kamati kama hiyo ama maangalizi ya kutumia hizi pesa kama hayo, basi tutaona ya kwamba kutakuwa na shida kubwa usipohusisha Central Bank, na hao ndio wenyewe ambao wanaweza kuangalia matumizi ya hizi pesa ama madeni ya hizi pesa vile yanavyolipwa. Asante, Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. I see another Senator, Senator Ongeri Samson Kagengo.
Yes, I did. I thought I had Cherege. That's why I was looking. Madam Speaker, this is a very good decision by the Committee of Delegated Legislation. And let me take the earliest opportunity to thank the Business Committee for having allocated me to be a member of that committee. I understand that I'm in that committee, and I'll obviously be able to play my role. Now, one of the major elements in this regulation is in respect of the sinking fund. And the sinking fund normally is a good idea. It's not a very strange idea to anybody, even at the family level. When you want to save for a specific item, either for a holiday or for buying your spouse or buying your children something specific, you set aside some funds so that when that time comes, you are able to spend it with ease and without any difficulty. The issue that arises now in this particular guidelines of 2021 is that this sinking fund was set in 1963 at independence time, and up to today it has never been operationalized. What we are in fact are witnessing today is the piling up of pending bills. When I was the chair of Public Accounts Committee, one of the issues that we noticed was that there are so many pending bills that have not been paid for by either national government or by the county governments or by the defunct local authorities government, and therefore is a carryover from the past to the present level. And that's why it becomes very difficult to be able to operationalize the current budgets, whether it be national budgets or whether they be county government budgets or the parastatal budgets, because of the pending bills nature that we have. And one of the biggest impediment to the growth of the economy is non-payment of bills that have been incurred by very good suppliers who have given their goods and services, done their services properly, and they are not being paid, and therefore many of them have run bankrupt. And therefore, what is the use of setting up a sinking fund, one which has not been operationalized in the past since 1963? Today, you are intending to put in new guidelines to operationalize, to achieve what objective? Our debt ratio is one that we've been crying here all the time, that the ceiling is so high that it will be very dangerous at this stage. And much more important is that we have the Central Bank of Kenya Act. And the Central Bank of Kenya Act is obviously in conflict with the guidelines which are being set up by the National treasury. Thirdly, one of the other elements that we need to be very cagey and very wary about is that how does the National Assembly or the Senate have access to be able to oversight this fund? Because when you give a carte blanche to a national treasury to spend money that they have put aside, their own regulations are in conflict with the Central Bank Act itself, how does either the National Assembly or this Senate been able to access those funds to be able to oversight on the funds that are being set aside for a specific purpose? And therefore, I want to thank the chair of the delegated legislation for having taken this timely action, because if you don't do so, it's one way that you are putting this money into a sinking hole. The people will just gather the money, and one morning somebody will wake up and be able to apply it to a specific item. They will say it was a decision of the officials, of mandarins of the treasury, and therefore they decided that this money must go to a specific item without any plan, without any oversight, without any audit whatsoever. No indication how that money is going to be spent in one level or the other. For me, I see it as a very dangerous process, that if we allow this to proceed the way it is now, and these guidelines are carried through, it will be very dangerous for us, and we may be creating another hole where money will be sunk without the knowledge of the legislative arms of this government. Therefore, I support this amendment, the cancellation or the annulment of this Regulation 2021, because basically they have no basis upon which they must exist. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And finally, Senator Harkura Kodana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to support the committee's position, the Committee of the Legislative Delegation on its position on the sinking fund regulations. And I'd like to join my colleagues in stating that the law has been in place for a long time, but take long also to come up with the legislation. Madam Speaker, if you look at the kind of budgets we have been operating for the past few years, we have been having a very high deficit where we had to continuously borrow, and we have been going into debt because of that. But the idea behind this fund, which is supposed to be setting aside fund which can be used in future to pay debts and also redeem bonds, Madam Speaker, we don't have that luxury as it is now, because what we are going through is having a lot of deficit, and instead of living within our means, we have always been having budgets where we are servicing debts of up to 1 trillion shillings and still borrowing about 1 trillion shillings each year to service our budget while still we are paying debts. So I don't know how somebody will be thinking of having fund to set aside when we are not even living within our means, when we are still digging deeper into debt, instead of concentrating on how to come up with a budget which we can sustainably finance. And that is where we should be putting our energies. And instead of having these funds, which, even from experience, from what we have been seeing in this country, if we create this kind of funds, then they might be subject to other abuses, which will not even meet the intended purpose. So, Madam Speaker, I support the committee's decision to reject these regulations and instead urge the Treasury to concentrate on how to come up with a budget which we can sustainably fund, and also see how we can make sure that we only budget for what we can sustain with our own funding, and see how we are going to manage the debts which we have dug ourselves into. That way we can now, in future, once we go to surplus budget, then we can be thinking of these funds. Otherwise, it might be suspect at this time coming up with this kind of regulations, because we might be setting aside funds which would have gone ahead in improving the economy of this country, gone ahead in providing employment so that the economy itself will generate the extra funds which will now necessitate this kind of fundings and this kind of funds, and at the right time then we can have this kind of legislation. Thank you. I support the committee's position.
Thank you, Senators. May I now call on the Chair of the Committee on Delegated Legislation, Senator of Mombasa, to give a response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, I wish to thank all the senators that have contributed on this motion for their contributions, and I want to assure the Senate that we shall consider all other regulations that come to our committee impartially and to the best interests of the country and the Senate. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya, Dr. Njoroge, for his able presentation before the committee. Madam Speaker, when we met the Governor on the 7th, he took time to take us through the regulations, the fears that the CBK had on those regulations, and he was unequivocal that at the moment the country does not need this fund. What he said what was needed was a proper strategy to manage our debt, so that the debt that we are incurring is able to be utilized properly, and the country achieves economic prosperity as we move along. He also informed us that there are many alternatives that can be applied to manage the debt, as opposed to the sinking fund, which will result in setting aside funds to lie idle without any economic activity. Madam Speaker, the Governor also informed us that he'll soon be meeting the Finance Committee of the Senate to discuss the issue of debt, the debt issue, and I will invite members of that Committee of Finance and any other senator that will be available to attend this meeting, because it will be an eye-opener on the work that we do in this House. Madam Speaker, finally, I want to thank the Speaker and the Secretariat of the committee for their able assistance to the committee in consideration of these regulations and any other regulations that are coming before this committee. Madam Speaker, I move that pursuant to Standing Order number 61(3), the putting of the question be deferred to a later date. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. So we'll defer the putting of the question. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 9, Committee of the Whole, the County Government's Grant Bill, Senate Bills number 35 of 2021.
Yeah, I'll request the clerk to read all the Committee of the Whole orders so that we report all of them at the same time. Next order.
Order number 10, Committee of the Whole, the Mental Health Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 28 of 2020.
Next order.
Order number 11, Committee of the Whole, the Basic Education Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2021.
Next order.
Order number 12, Committee of the Whole, the County Licensing Uniform Procedures Bill, Senate Bills number 32 of 2020.
Next order.
Order number 13, Committee of the Whole, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 31 of 2020.
Thank you, Senator. So we shall now move to the Committee of the Whole.
Honorable Senators, we are considering the Committee on the Whole of County Governments Grants Bill, Senate Bills number 35 of 2021.
Clause 3.
I propose the question that Clause B be part of the bill. Mover, Chairperson.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that Clause 3 be part of the bill. I beg to move that Clause 3 be amended as provided in the order paper.
I propose the question that Clause 3 be amended as proposed. I put the question that Clause 3 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 4.
I propose the question that Clause 4 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Madam Chair, I beg to move that Clause 4 be deleted.
I propose the question that Clause 4 be deleted. I put the question that Clause 4 be deleted. Division at the end.
Clause 5.
I propose the question that Clause 5 be part of the bill. Mover, Chairperson.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the bill be amended by deleting Clause 5.
I propose the question that Clause 5 be deleted. I put the question that Clause 5 be deleted. Division at the end.
Clause 6.
I propose the question that Clause 6 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the bill be amended by deleting Clause 6.
I propose the question that Clause 6 be deleted. I put the question that Clause 6 be deleted. Division at the end.
Clause 7.
I propose the question that Clause 7 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Madam Chair, I beg to propose that the bill be amended by deleting Clause 7.
I propose the question that Clause 7 be deleted. I put the question that Clause 7 be deleted. Division at the end.
Clause 8.
I propose the question that Clause 8 be part of the bill. Chairperson? Standing Committee on Finance and Budget.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I beg to move that Clause 8 of the bill be amended as provided for in the order paper.
I propose the question that Clause 8 be amended as proposed. I put the question that Clause 8 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 9.
I propose the question that Clause 9 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I beg to move that Clause 9 be amended as provided in the order paper.
I propose the question that Clause 9 be amended as proposed. I put the question that Clause 9 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 10.
I propose the question that Clause 10 be part of the bill. I put the question that Clause 10 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 11.
I propose the question that Clause 11 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Madam Chair, I beg to move that Clause 11 of the bill be amended as provided in the order paper.
I propose the question that Clause 11 be amended as proposed. I put the question that Clause 11 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 12.
I propose the question that Clause 12 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Madam Chair, I beg to move that Clause 12 of the bill be amended as provided in the order paper.
I propose the question that Clause 12 be amended as proposed. I put the question that Clause 12 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
New Clause 13.
I propose the question that new Clause 13
second reading of Clause 13.
Chairperson, kindly move the amendment on clause 13. On the second reading. Can you kindly approach the table, please?
Madam Chair, I beg to move that new clause 13 be now read a second time.
I propose the question that new clause 13. Sorry. I propose the question that new clause 13 be read a second time. I put the question that new clause 13 be read a second time. Division at the end.
The first schedule and the second schedule.
I propose the question that the first schedule and the second schedule be part of the bill. I put the question that the first schedule and the second schedule be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 2.
I propose the question that clause 2 be part of the bill. Chairperson.
Madam Chair, may I approach? Madam Chair, I beg to move that clause 2 be amended as in the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
The title.
I propose the question that the title be part of the bill. Chairperson.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the title be part of the bill.
I propose the question that the title be amended as proposed. I put the question that the title be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 1.
I propose the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. I put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
When we will come to reporting progress.
Mover.
Madam Chairperson, Pursuant to Standing Order number 148-1, I beg to move that the Committee of the Whole do report to the House its consideration of the County Government Grants Bill, Senate Bill number 35 of 2021, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow.
I put the question that the Committee of the Whole do report to the House its consideration of the County Government's Grants Bill, Senate Bills number 35 of 2021, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow. May as many as are of the opinion say aye. Aye. And those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Where's the next bill? Honorable Senators, we are now considering Mental Health Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 28 of 2020.
Clauses 2, 3, and 4.
Move it to move.
No. This is just a small error. Just proceed to propose the question.
I propose the question that clauses 2 to 4 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 2 to 4 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 5.
I propose the question that clause 5 be part of the bill. Chairperson. Senator Dr. Mbito.
Madam Chair, I beg to move the amendment in clause 5 as listed in today's order paper.
I propose the question that clause 5 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 5 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 6 and 7.
I propose the question that clauses 6 to 7 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 6 to 7 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 8.
I propose the question that clause 8 be part of the bill. Chairperson, Dr. Mbito.
Madam Chair, I beg to move the amendment in clause 8 as listed in today's order paper.
I propose the question that clause 8 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 8 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14.
I propose the question that clauses 9 to 14 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 9 to 14 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 15.
I propose the question that clause 15 be part of the bill. Chairperson, Dr. Mbito.
Madam Chair, I beg to move the amendment in clause 15 as listed in today's order paper.
I propose the question that clause 15 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 15 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31.
I propose the question that clauses 16 to 31 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 16 to 31 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 32.
I propose the question that clause 32 be part of the bill. Chairperson, Dr. Mbito.
Madam Chair, I beg to move the amendment in clause 32 as listed as in today's order paper.
I propose the question that clause 32 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 32 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 33.
I propose the question that clause 33 be part of the bill. Chairperson, Dr. Mbito.
Madam Chair, I beg to move the amendment in clause 33 as listed in today's order paper.
I propose the question that clause 33 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 33 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 34, 35, 36, and 37.
I propose the question that clauses 34 to 37 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 34 to 37 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 38.
I propose the question that clause 38 be part of the bill. Chairperson, Senator Mbito.
Madam Chair, I beg to move the amendment in clause 38 as listed in today's order paper.
I propose the question that clause 38 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 38 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, and 49.
I propose the question that clauses 39 to 49 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 39 to 49 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 50.
I propose the question that clause 50 be part of the bill. Chairperson, Dr. Mbito.
Madam Chair, I beg to move the amendment in clause 50 as listed in today's order paper.
I propose the question that clause 50 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 50 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 51 and 52.
I propose the question that clauses 51 and 52 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 51 to 52 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
We have finished on this one.
Now this?
No. These are the questions. These are the divisions that will come in the committee tomorrow.
Okay.
So we will call upon the mover.
Senator Kasanga, kindly report progress.
Honorable Chairperson, pursuant to Standing Order 148, I beg to move that the Committee of the Whole do report progress on its consideration of the Mental Health Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 28 of 2020, and seek leave to sit tomorrow.
I think you have left something, and it's approval.
No. We are seeking leave to sit again tomorrow because we can't do the division today.
Oh, okay. That's fine. I will put a question, which is that the Committee of the Whole do report progress on its consideration of the Mental Health Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 28 of 2020, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow. May as many as are of the opinion say aye. Aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Senators, we are now considering Basic Education Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2021.
Clause 3.
I propose the question that clause 3 be part of the bill. Mover?
No, Chairperson,
Chairperson Standing Committee on Education, Senator Dr. Milgo.
I need to get. Thank you, Madam Chair. I beg to move that clause 3 of the bill be amended in the new clause 38A by inserting the following new subclause immediately after subclause 3. As stated in the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 2, the title, and clause 1.
I propose the question that clause 2, the title, and clause 1 be part of the bill. I put the question that clause 2, the title, and clause 1 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
So, Madam Chair, these are the only amendments. So for the reporting on the basic education, so you will call upon the mover who is
Senator Lekina, you are reporting on behalf of Senator Kwamboka.
Madam Chair, Honorable Chair, pursuant to Standing Order 148, I beg to move that the Committee of the Whole do report progress on its consideration of the Basic Education Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2021, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow.
I put the question, which is that the Committee of the Whole do report progress on its consideration of the Basic Education Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2021, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow. May as many as are of the opinion say aye, and those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. But Senators, we are now proceeding to the county licensing uniform procedures bill, Senate Bills number 32 of 2020.
Just to clarify.
Honorable Senators, Senator Chebeni is going to move the amendments on behalf of the chairperson of the committee.
So we begin.
Yeah.
Clause 3.
Chairperson?
No, it's you. I propose the paper.
No.
Honorable Chair, I beg to move clause 3 as listed in the order paper.
So
I propose.
No, yes, you propose the question.
And you do it again?
No, yes, I propose it.
I propose, okay, you want to do it?
Clause 3.
I propose the question that clause 3 be part of the bill. Mover? Okay, Chairperson, Senator Chebeni on behalf of the chair.
Honorable Chair, I beg to move the clause 3 as listed in the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 3. I propose the question that clause 3 be part of.
I propose the question. I propose the question that clause 3 be amended as indicated in the order paper. I put the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 4, 5, and 6.
I propose the question that clauses 4, 5, and 6 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 4, 5, and 6 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 7.
Senator Chebeni.
Senator Chebeni, kindly.
Honorable Chair, I beg to move clause 7 as listed in the order paper.
As proposed.
Be amended as proposed in the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 7 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 7 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14.
I propose the question that clauses 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 15.
I propose the question that clause 15 be part of the bill. Chairperson, on behalf of Senator Chebeni, on behalf of the chairperson.
Honorable Chair, I beg to move that clause 15 be amended as proposed in the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 15 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 15 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 16, 17, and 18.
I propose the question that clauses 16, 17, and 18 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 16, 17, and 18 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 19.
I propose the question that clause 19 be part of the bill. Senator Chebeni, on behalf of the chairperson.
Honorable Chair, I beg to move that clause 19 be amended as proposed in the order paper.
I put the question that clause 19 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 19 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 20 and 21.
I propose the question that clauses 20 and 21 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 20 and 21 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 22.
I propose the question that clause 22 be part of the bill. Senator Chebeni, on behalf of the chairperson.
Honorable Chair, I beg to move that clause 22 be amended as proposed in the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 22 be amended as indicated in the order paper. I put the question that clause 22 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28.
I propose the question that clauses 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 20, and 28 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
The title.
I propose the question that the title be part of the bill. I put the question that the title be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 1.
I propose the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Senator Chebeni, on behalf of the chairperson.
Honorable Chair, I beg to move that clause 1 be clause 1 is amended as proposed in the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 1 be amended as indicated on the order paper. I put the question that clause 1 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Madam Speaker, we are now reporting progress since we can't do the division today. So the mover is Senator Chebeni, the mover, the owner of the bill.
Okay, Senator Chebeni, can you give report, the progress report on the bill, please?
Honorable Chairperson, pursuant to Standing Order 148, I beg to move that the Committee of the Whole do report progress on its consideration of the County Licensing Uniform Procedures Bill, Senate Bills number 32 of 2020, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow.
I put the question that the Committee of the Whole do report progress on its consideration of the County Licensing Uniform Procedures Bill, Senate Bills number 32 of 2020, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow. May as many as are of the opinion say aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
Madam Chair, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Amendment Bill